for attending our briefing session today, and welcome from each and every one of us on the panel here. We're going to share and discuss with you our recent collaboration project that delivered and handed over a fully funded bioscience facility 3 years faster than a traditional methods of construction. It really was a team effort, and collaboration was really at the core, which is why we've brought everybody together today on the panel to share with you the opportunity, and also for you to ask questions and see how we may be able to help you. So firstly, let me start with introductions. Myself, I'm Zoe Brooks. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for Merit, and I will be moderating the discussion today. So let me, everyone on the panel, introduce themselves. Miranda, should we start with you?
Sure. My name's Miranda Neville. I'm the VP of Engineering and Facilities for Autolus.
My name is Olivia. I am the Portfolio Manager of our Life Science platform at UBS.
Hi, my name is Will Rowleader. I'm Managing Director of The Forge, which is the real estate platform between Reef and UBS.
Hi, I'm Piers Slater, founder and CEO of Reef Group, who've partnered with UBS on the Forge platform.
Good morning, my name is Matthew Toomey. I'm a main board director at Merit. I'm responsible for business development.
Hi, and I'm Tony Wells. I'm the CEO at Merit. I've been running Merit for 20 years now.
Thank you. So as they say, a picture paints 1,000 words. So we just thought we would kick off with our video, which showcases how everything came together as a collaboration and what we delivered. We hope that gave you a good overview of the project that we're going to discuss with you today. Let's start with talking through the project and the different stages. So Miranda, shall we start with you and
Sure.
Ask, what did Autolus set out to achieve?
Sure. So Autolus, like most companies, wanted our own facility. We were manufacturing in a shared facility in Stevenage in the UK. We had 3 suites that we were renting from Catapult there. But we outgrew that space, and we were also moving, from the clinical stage closer and closer to commercialization of our product. So we set out to build a commercial manufacturing facility for cell manufacturing.
Okay, so what was your overall strategic plan?
Well, our plan was basically to deliver a facility that could meet our demand projections for at least the first 5 years after commercial launch. So we landed with this facility with a 2,000 batch per year facility.
Excellent. And I guess you dreamt that it would all run smoothly, but but in reality, what problems did you encounter along the way?
No, I mean, this was many years in the making, right? So as a lot of companies, we had one product that was our lead product that was a higher commercial demand projection. We actually set out originally building a facility in Rockville, Maryland. We built the shell of that facility, the core and shell. We never did fit it out for a variety of reasons. One, the facility probably was too big at the end of the day because we did have 2 products kind of going in parallel down the clinical stage, and we ended up realizing at some point that we really didn't have the funding as a small company to take both products forward. So the board had to make a decision on which product we were taking forward. The facility in Rockville, Maryland was a 5,000 batch per year facility. We also worked on a design of a facility in the UK prior to that was a vector and cell mixed use facility. We actually went through the design stage of that, and Merit was part of that process as well. And that one was shelved. So you could see a pattern here, right? The facility in Rockville, we luckily were able to divest it. We never were able to get the funding we needed to fit it out. So we had 6 identical cell manufacturing suites. As I mentioned, it could go up to 5,000 batches per year. So we always planned to build it out in phases. But even the first phase, as many of you realize, is expensive, right? So we had to find funding for that. And while the company's spending all the money running clinical trials, don't always have money to build a facility or fit it out.
Okay. So funding was critical. That was your kind of starting point. So what options did you explore?
I went to a lot of banks. I went to a lot of banks and asked them for a loan. They said, you have no collateral. You have no product. We're not giving you money. So I got a lot of rejections. I think I found someone eventually that was going to give me a loan that wasn't going to even cover the first phase of my fit out, and it was a very high interest rate, not very feasible. And actually the developer did offer to give us a portion, again, of the money in a lease term, but it wasn't going to be enough for us to get the phase 1 or phase 2 fit out done. So we ended up having to look for other options at that point.
Okay. And what options, apart from the bank, did you then go and explore?
Well, because we had our manufacturing team in Stevenage in the UK already, as I mentioned at the Catapult facility, our chief commercial officer actually said, why don't we talk to the UK government? So he hooked us up with the Center of Life Sciences there, who then connected us with Hertfordshire County Council and Stevenage Borough Council, and they connected us with Reef and a couple other developers, I believe, at the time. I think we had 3 initially. And I believe we met with all 3 developers, and Reef, first of all, was a really good fit for us. I think we had kind of a connection pretty early on. And I was very honest with them about the situation from the very first meeting, about the financial situation, that I really needed someone that was willing to pay for the fit out of the facility, not just the core and shell. I needed the fit out paid for in terms of a lease payback.
Excellent. Fab. Just at this stage, has anybody got any questions for Miranda regarding the challenge that she faced and the opportunity? No. That's fine. Okay, so clearly then there was a connection between Miranda and Reef Group. Will Piers, what were you able to offer to Miranda to help her out of the situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think importantly, Reef have been developing in Stevenage over the last kind of 6-7 years. So we knew all the local stakeholders. Just to give you some context, Stevenage is very similar to kind of in terms of what we're delivering, the Boston GMP market. You know, it's outside of London, but importantly, we've got a town centre location. So we had a site, we were working with the council in the town centre, close to restaurants, gyms, etc., so we could attract best-in-class talent. I think Miranda would support that from a retention of staff, etc. Was an important tick in the box. I think one of the biggest advantages with Stevenage is the cell and gene catapult, who introduced us to Autolus originally. They've been influential in terms of getting this deal over the line, but also assisting Autolus in Stevenage over the last 6-7 years. And as Miranda said, Autolus moved from kind of 1 module up to 3 modules. So we were able to deliver this new facility while they carried on their work in Stevenage. Stevenage has a complete ecosystem, which includes world-class skills and training laboratories, and an innovative supply chain solutions and a critical mass of manufacturing excellence. So kind of going back to your question, because of our relationships in Stevenage, the ability to deliver a site and planning, we managed from our initial discussions to get on site within about 7 months. From initial discussion, detailed design, so construction started within 7 months, which I don't know if you know the UK system. I'm not sure what the US system's like that. You know, that's unheard of. So our ability to deliver, the town centre location, Merit have been absolutely influential in keeping Autolus in the UK. One of the important objectives which Miranda set us was delivering this facility in 17 months. And if we went down the traditional route, and we'll come on to it, Tony will come on to it, if we had gone down the traditional route, it would be more like 4 years. And I think for Miranda to have made that decision 4 years out, given where Autolus were, would have probably been impossible, whereas actually 2 years out is a much easier decision. Olivia will talk about it in a bit more detail, but a full turnkey solution. So we, Reef, UBS, have taken all construction risk, all cost overruns, which has allowed Autolus to concentrate on what they're good at, and we can concentrate on what we're good at. I think importantly, and as most of you know, is the skills and talent, and Stevenage have a number of academic institutions in and around Stevenage which can offer that supply of labour. So I think all those ingredients put together, hopefully, tick the box for Autolus.
Yeah.
So we still had the hurdle of the funding, so it was great Reef could offer to Miranda, but in terms of Liv, is that where you came to the party to be able to help Miranda out and Autolus out with the funding side?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we had known Reef for a number of years prior to that, kind of outside the life science market, but you know, as being part of UBS, we have a wide, I'm in the real estate division, but we have a wider expertise across our investment bank and our asset management division, where we support companies with IPOs, M&As, etc. We do a lot of research, and we have kind of venture funds and things like that. So there was already quite a good pool of expertise within UBS, and I think we wanted to move into the real estate side of the sector. And when Reef bought the Autolus opportunity to us, it was definitely, completely new for the UK market in terms of the GMP element that hadn't been funded in this way in the UK. But I think the benefit of being part of UBS differentiates us from a pure play real estate manager, where we can get the comfort around the wider cell and gene therapy sector and the underlying kind of strength of that sector to allow us to provide the funding and the investment for the facility. So we were, I think we did our DD relatively quickly and kind of got on board quite quickly, and it all grew from there.
I'd just like to add, it's a very novel approach in the UK to do a full fit-out solution, and from our experience in the US market, And from looking at facilities in Boston and what the landlords deliver, again, we haven't seen an offer, a full fitted out, paid for, funded offer in the US, but you guys probably know more.
And I think as well, it's come at an interesting time where, I mean, the funding market for companies like Autolus, but of all different sizes and sectors, has dropped off quite significantly. So the model has hopefully come at a bit of an opportune time where it works for us because we're long-term investors and we like occupiers that want to stay in that facility long term, and then it works for the company because there's very much more limited capital outlay at the outset, and we can give kind of security of occupation 20, 30 years, however many years that they need at the facility. So it's quite a mutually beneficial relationship in that respect.
I think also the thing that we bring as a team and ingredients that comes together is Reef have an in-house design team of architects, probably about 20 strong. A couple of our design directors are in the audience, so we can move at pace on the shell and core and the design and dealing with the licenses. And Tony and Matthew will talk about what Merit do, which is their approach to the modular construction. So actually the ingredients, then bringing the funder into it and a tenant team who were, we had our moments, but it was a journey. But it all came together, and we've learned a lot on it, and to get this quite unique turnkey solution, and everyone did their bit, which I think plays really well to the success we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to stress, albeit Autolus are our tenant, if you want to call it, it's very much Autolus's manufacturing process, which we've implemented. We've obviously had to retain an element of flexibility because, from a worst case position for the fund, is if Autolus aren't around in a few years' time. So we had to know that this facility could be utilised by another company, but very much this is Autolus's facility, their manufacturing process, and we've worked closely with them around to make sure it facilitates what they're trying to do.
If Autolus have expanded and taken twice the space next door, we'll be letting it to someone else. That's all we're hoping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I believe you now have the Forge platform. Do you want to expand a bit more on that?
Yeah, so the Forge platform is a global platform we have with UBS. We now have circa 8 assets across the UK, US, and we've got aspirations of going into Europe. Most of the assets are kind of ground-up development sites. The size of the fund is now over 2 billion. We've got roughly 2 million square foot coming forwards, a mixture of kind of R&D and GMP facilities. Kind of going back to what we're doing in Stevenage and the ecosystem we're trying to create, we've got roughly 2 million square foot in Stevenage coming forwards over the kind of next 5 to 8 years. That includes kind of standalone GMP facilities like we're delivering for Autolus. So we'd love to have conversations with companies who are looking to expand, potentially come over to the UK. I think the Catapult is a huge success story for the UK, and they can assist with manufacturing process while we deliver the facilities. And the Catapult, I don't know if anyone from the Catapult's here today, but they are at Facilitate, so I would definitely recommend meeting with the team.
I think also one of the many great things about Merit is that, and everyone on this team, is that it's very portable globally. So the construction method, and obviously they'll come on to it shortly, is we were able to duplicate this kind of anywhere globally, and UBS being global can help to facilitate that as well.
And I think we really wanted that model as well. That's kind of why we had identical sort of modules, because our hope is that as we grow as a company, we can pick up this and duplicate it in the US or other places in Europe.
So it started as a great partnership with kind of everybody else to bring something to the party and to offer. And I guess, Miranda, this funding option, back to the funding at the start, was of appeal to you?
Yes. I was very thankful to meet UBS and Reef.
So once the funding was secured, what was the next challenge that Reef Group faced?
I think, Piers jump in, but the biggest challenge for us has been the timescales which Autolus have set. We to hand over effectively 2 clean rooms within 12 months from starting on site on an £80 million facility has been stressful. We've handed those over. They're starting that certification process, and it's still a development site. So you can probably understand some of the issues we're going through, but we have delivered. It's helped Miranda out and their funding, so that's probably been the biggest difficulty to date.
And in fairness to them, I think I originally said 18 months, and then about a month into it, we had a small steering committee session where I said, can you please take 6 months off of that schedule?
Every time Dave Brashew phoned up, he thought, oh, here we go.
They were silent at first, and then they started coming up with ideas. And again, it was a really collaborative approach to figure out what could we do to cut 6 months out of that schedule. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's two strong companies with different views, but we've worked together. This Merit Reef, we've worked together. Our design teams have worked together, and I think we've come up with a best-in-class GMP facility.
I think we're also, I've always been pretty frustrated by the way the construction industry in the UK hasn't innovated really for 20 odd years or longer actually, and so we're quite like-minded. So to find someone like Merit unpacking it and repacking it has been really exciting, and we're looking to stretch it to other types of asset beyond GMP. So I think that innovation and change, and then we didn't predict things like we started it in COVID, but global supply chains, war in Ukraine, and actually through all of that, we've still managed to keep the target. And I think the resilience of the supply chain and the Merit approach is really what's great now, and certainly great going forwards. And we've got lots more innovation to try and do, I think it's fair to say.
Is it worth expanding on some of those from a kind of a Reef UBS perspective? Merit fit a number of our ESG credentials. And I think Tony will probably touch on it, but from a waste saving, 60% of this or 70% of this facility was built off-site up in a factory in Newcastle. So from a waste and an environmental perspective, that's been absolutely critical. And the fund and the platform has some quite onerous environmental targets to hit around BREEAM, etc. But also from a kind of a social perspective, again, Tony has got a large workforce in Newcastle, and actually it's always kind of stayed with me what you said, Tony, about having your workforce not away from their families, like most construction sites, for the whole week, and the mental illness that brings in construction. So that it's been a very important factor as to why we went with Merit.
And on that note, was sustainability, environmentally friendly, was that one of the key priorities for Autolus?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that all companies strive for that, right? It's sometimes difficult just because of the nature of our business, but we were able to incorporate all of that in this design.
So going back to yourself, Will, you had this challenge ahead. You've now got funding, you've got your partnerships in place, and you've got some challenging timescales there. So what was your next approach in terms of what was Reef's approach? What did you explore to look at the options to build the Autolus facility?
Well, we went out to the construction market, and to be quite honest, Merit were head and shoulders above in terms of being able to hit kind of the ESG requirements, but also the time requirements for the fund and for Autolus. But as Piers touched upon, we've got a very large internal architectural and construction team, and we can deliver at pace, which is what we did. We knew the key stakeholders in Stevenage. They've been absolutely paramount in terms of the council, the Hertfordshire LEP. So it's been.
I think also the catapult introduced Merit to us as well, with the background history they've had, obviously. So that they deserve some credit for that. But yeah, as Will says, when we met, well, there was no way we were going to hit your timelines any other way, and we've definitely learned a lot on the journey, and actually. As we always say, we're very good at what Merit aren't so good at, and they can do things we can't do internally. So that the coming together of the jigsaw meant we could focus on getting planning, getting a detailed design, of the sort of shell and core, as it will, albeit Merit were the main contractor, while Merit were busy dealing with the internal design with our team, with Autolus, and to be able to go through the licensing process as part of that, we'd never seen it before, so it's credit. Okay. I can't take the credit off Merit. Really.
I would say it's important to note that Merit had a responsibility for the project from early concept all the way through. So we developed the layouts with Autolus and the team, and we have an internal QP. Basically, is releasing vaccines and and advanced therapies and understands what the requirements are for the MHRA and potentially the FDA as well. So we were able to take the project from the early concept and then pull the price together based on the layout and then move the project forward at a fixed price based on that early layout. And I think that's really quite an important point, that it's an integrated solution from the very beginning of the project, and that Autolus then negotiated, Autolus and Reef then negotiated the project with us to get a full delivery, and then at the same time made sure that that was a competitive offering in the marketplace.
And I think it's fair to say, we were able to, UBS, like any funder, have a funding criteria that's different if you're just doing a turnkey for a Moderna or a GSK or whoever. So we all went together. We've done that journey. We took you on that journey, and and it is painful dealing with lawyers, warranties, etc., all the security that a funder needs. But we've now been through that. We've got a template, and we can replicate that. And it's the boring bit, but it's how we get the money. So fairly critical for all of us.
I think the novel method of construction as well, in terms of it being off-site, we started that construction during the planning process. So we took a fair bit of risk to hit those timescales. We were building, we were, God knows how many modules in before we even got planning.
Yeah, absolutely. We started, I think, when obviously we started with Autolus about 5 months before we got on site, and we took the opportunity to close out the 1 to 200 layouts, work through the GMP flows, get tacit sign-off from the regulator, and then we were immediately into an off-site manufacturing situation. So we were pretty well ahead of the game before we actually got access to site, because we obviously only had 54 weeks from site access to delivering a validated as-built clean room environment. So it needed some very proactive, collaborative team behavior on everybody's part. From our perspective, this is the plot, this is what it needs to look like, this is the height it can be. From Autolus's point, this is how much product we want to make. How do we fit that much manufacturing equipment into the clean rooms and so on? So, and we had to more or less do that within a few weeks, and then immediately get into manufacturing. So, you needed, and of course, Reef and UBS wanted to have a facility that could do other products and be flexible. So it's quite a multivariable challenge in order to bring that together, but we got there.
So in terms of, from Reef's perspective, why was the merit offering of interest?
Do you want to cover that?
I think, on a basic level, we were able to hit the timelines. We went through a long journey, which Merit weren't party to, perhaps with UBS, which UBS completely bought into. This is a quasi-infrastructure play, and so for us, we went up to the factory. We had to, you have to unpack it completely different to traditional construction. So you're looking at your construction sites actually, 200 miles north of where you are. And which I enjoyed that, and then looking at security, etc. So I think, but then I think the innovation side, and where I think the world's going with things like digital transformation, which I'm a massive buyer into, and data, and we talk about climate change, and so the approach that Tony and the vision that Tony has is very aligned to ours around things like digital twins, IoT. This is just the start, and so. And I made a deliberate decision at the start of the lockdown that I could see there was a big change coming, and actually building and delivering buildings that are complicated, knowledge buildings, things that you can't do at home is really key. And so for me, that this was just the start of something. So that it was about starting this journey on this building, but actually, as I get in trouble with my team, I'm looking at 4 buildings ahead of what we're going to do, because and to take it globally is incredibly exciting.
So it was obviously, when you looked at traditional construction methods, etc., it was very different. How did you feel about that?
Well, I so be careful what I say about contractors. I think it's just the lack of innovation in the sector. It's not, great if you're building a shed, but the world's changed, and so we talk to other contractors, and they all give you lots of promises. They can't give you a fixed price. They're not really doing what they say they do when they say it's modular. Well, it's not modular how this is, and so there's just no one out there. So we had various conversations, and it's hard to move from the traditional model because their balance sheet is what everyone knows. It's what UBS knows and everyone else knows, and so and this journey we went on together with UBS. It was a big departure, but to me it's quite logical because I think the other contractors, they just can't do it, and we would still be on site now, and we'd probably be dealing with claims. Probably be battling on all sorts of fronts.
No, I think the whole market, from a funding perspective, everyone that we need to interact with, so insurers and lenders and investors, are built around the traditional model, and so there was definitely some challenges and some kind of arguments we had to win to get the funding in place. But I think what's so exciting now that we have this close to being up and running and done, is that it's kind of proved the point, and will hopefully, the journey going forward now will be a lot smoother.
I think Piers' comment on cost certainty is very important as well, because obviously we fixed the price for this project at concept phase, and we've delivered it within that price with no claims. And we've had significant roadblocks along the way and disruption along the way from the council and UK Power Network and various other things, and reasons why we could and potentially should have had delays. But the whole approach has allowed us to have a very flexible approach to delivering the building and mitigate the delays relatively easily. So I think that's probably not something that's available in the construction market at the moment.
I think also actually what I'd just say is as well, in the UK, because the GMP market's not as advanced as in, say, the US, you have this model which, as a developer, would be quite nice if you can give a shell and core and just write a cheque for the occupier to do the fit out, but that doesn't exist in the UK, and so that wasn't an option for us to do, and I'm glad it doesn't exist in the UK, and I think Miranda would say it allows Autolus or any life science or cell and gene company to focus on what they're good at, and then Merit will do what they're good at with the cost certainty, and we do our bit. I mean, that's the bit that's exciting. I think if the industry is going to accelerate and expand as we're all predicting and we're all here, then it's a really exciting opportunity for companies that want to get to market quickly and also not spend loads of money on consultants, as you had your journey of various designs that never happened.
Yes.
And they cost quite a lot of money, I believe.
I think the other point is obviously your supply chain. In the UK we've had a number of issues in terms of getting materials over the last kind of 12 months, and Merit have a fantastic supply chain. It's a local supply chain up in Newcastle, and to be fair, we haven't had delay on materials.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we're attacking this from a completely different strategy in terms of delivering construction, because as you point out, construction is pretty backward. It hasn't really changed for centuries maybe. In terms of pricing, then obviously the fund wants cost certainty. You can't do that with a bottom-up pricing of bill of quantities and so on, and bespoke design. So we've had to create an integrated proprietary platform design and then produce what it should cost models in order to proactively fix price. And that's just not available. We've had to do that more or less from first principles since about 2015, when we first conceived of a restructuring of the way that we were delivering the project. So that's been helpful from our perspective. But we can price. Maybe in past terms we might have had 6 people working a month on a price to put a cost together, and with very poor level of accuracy, and now we can do it in perhaps an hour. And so that it's a different mindset. Of course, you need to have the full digital twin in place, and so it's 7 years of work to get to that 1 hour. But now that we've created that situation, then you can really take a whole different value chain perspective on delivering the project.
Excellent. So, I mean, time was critical to this project, and we started off with one time, and then it got carved up again. So, from a Merit's point of view, Tony, where were the key elements where we could save time to deliver the Autolus project?
So I like that Clayton Christensen. He's done some good lectures, and he talks about finding out what a customer wants, what kind of job does the customer want done. And so we believe the customer wants rapid delivery of a project with perfect certainty at a reasonable price. And that's what we set out to achieve. We threw away our entire business model in 2015. We were completely fed up with doing the same old kind of construction Groundhog Day behavior, and 98% of construction projects are either late or over budget or both. And so we took that from first principles and said, right, we're going to design a pre-designed platform design, and then answer that question, which is, how do we take 2 or 3 years of a program, and then how do we do it even faster? And then it presents all sorts of different challenges when people throw inflation and supply chain shortages and semiconductor shortages. But actually, the more that those problems come, the more difficult it is for traditional people to cope, and the more opportunity it is for us to create a differentiation in the delivery model. So if we can pre-design and pre-specify air handling unit fans, maybe they're on 2 years, but we hold a stock of some hundreds, or control system dampers, or we basically because we basically self-deliver. We only subcontract about 34% of the building now, and we're in an industrialization of construction journey in order to reduce that. So we're capturing more value chain. We can then understand exactly where our timescales are compromised by material, and then we buy to stock. And that's basically what the approach we've taken. So, and I think innovation is driven in response to those needs of customers, right? So when Autolus come and we originally said we'll do the project in 2 years, and we were feeling pretty good about it. And then Miranda and Dave Bouchou come and they say, no, we'd like 6 months earlier. And you're like, okay. And then you have to let it sink in for a few minutes, of course. And then you think, well, maybe we can do this and that. And then but you need a willing client. You can't have a combative, antagonistic relationship. We need, everybody needs to play ball if you're going to innovate that much more. But that's what we got. Our little ecosystem, everybody delivers their particular part of it, and the Autolus team were tremendous, and the Reef and the EBS team similarly so, and we kind of found a way, and we aggressively developed the product faster than we would have otherwise done. There's no doubt that we drove innovation in products that took time off site. Essentially that's what we're doing. Construction costs on site, perhaps site labor runs anywhere between 16 and 25%, and we're driving that down to about 6% now. And we have a program to halve that or better. And you take stuff off site, and you can do it in a factory, and then you can work longer hours, and then you can put robots in and do CNC, and productivity starts to skyrocket. So we're on a journey. And we got the opportunity with Autolus and with Reef and UBS to have a go at scale. And that was the opportunity, and everybody has to kind of take a bit of a deep breath and readjust their whole procurement behavior, but needs must. There wasn't an alternate. So, and we were confident that it would work, and, we've had to, of course nothing's perfect, we've had to come up with mitigation here and there, but here we are, and, it's, we were talking about, there was one of our competitors on CGG Catapult It took them 8 months to commission and validate the 20,000 square foot GMP facility, the first phase. We did the second phase, and we did it in 8 weeks, and we were pretty happy with ourselves. With Autolus, we did it in 8 days. So, it's an order of magnitude improvement each time as we basically refine the product and understand it. And, we introduce, digital validation and, all these sort of different innovative technologies, to create we believe, a substantial disruption in the way that we're delivering it.
It's important to note that Merit is now really a manufacturing business, delivering buildings using manufactured components, products, and an integrated platform with standardized designs, which are iterated on every time we do a project. We basically move on to improving that design and improving and taking more and more stuff off-site. And that means that we're really now a technology company. We have a significant amount of our own IP. That's unheard of in the construction industry, obviously. And we're a manufacturing business. And I think we're probably the first fully integrated platform, standardized design business like this in the world at the moment, certainly in the English-speaking world that we can see.
I think that's a really good point. The technology company really is what I see happening, and it appeals to us. And then Reef can bring the urban design and the place making that you want. Because if you want this talent to come, you can't just put a box on. I don't believe on an industrial estate next to a big farmer. The kids coming through and the talent coming through want to work in great places where there's a great environment. And I think that's what's really exciting about bringing this fusion together, obviously with funding as well, because that's the thing we all have to in this room. We want to get best talents. We've got to create great places where they want to come and be and work in an innovative environment that you create internally.
We don't actually employ people who are typically in the construction industry. We employ a lot of new graduates. We're basically building up a whole new approach to delivering projects that isn't copying anything. It's being developed by ourselves as like I said, the first way of doing this. Certainly that we've been able to see.
Yeah, there's been a lot of research done, particularly at Stanford, on platform design, and I think people can see that people want to see that. Ray Levitt and those guys, Daniel Hall, they can see the problems in the fragmentation, the longitudinal, vertical, horizontal fragmentation within construction. They can see the problems, and within the US, there's definitely an interest to do it. Obviously, in the US, Katerra was like the big sort of Silicon Valley play into this sort of platform approach, and obviously it failed pretty spectacularly, I guess. But it wasn't because the need wasn't there. Right? I mean, people wanted that. It's just a case of trying to create that change in an industry that's been, it's probably the only successful industry at avoiding any sort of innovation, change, digital implementation. It's pretty successful at avoiding that. So, it takes some time to change that. But we're kind of seeing a big opportunity now to take a different value chain control and produce something different.
And we have a very strong focus on sustainability. Obviously, it's important to everybody. The building that we're building, built for Autolus, has an energy performance certificate from the UK of A, which is unheard of for a lab or manufacturing facility, and it's been developed to BREEAM Excellent, which is obviously the LEED equivalent in the UK. And our whole approach is based on not having any gas to the building. So we have a zero carbon approach, or zero carbon readiness approach for when the electricity supply in the UK goes completely zero carbon. And we're also obviously at a high level of off-site, up to 80-90% depending on the project. And that has an impact of obviously reducing the embedded carbon in the facility. And we have various programs that we're looking at around BIM on reducing the amount of carbon in the M&E system So we really focus very strongly. It's very important to us. We haven't sold a boiler to anybody for, what, 5 years maybe?
3 years. Yeah. 3.5 years. We won't sell that. We walked away from jobs where people wanted to have fossil fuel infrastructure. It's just simply not necessary. So, we can give an alternate which is no more expensive. It's more energy efficient. So what's not to like? We're not trying to force people to change. Of course, we should change, right? But we don't need to have any penalty. I think that's the important thing. If ESG is a zero cost innovation, well, then it will move so much quicker.
So sustainability is key. Are you able to share with us what other initiatives that we might have in the pipeline, or what we're going to look at next to help
so
that journey?
as Matthew says, we've got rid of the Scope 1 carbon, which is kind of fairly straightforward. We're, as a company, getting rid of Scope 2 carbon maybe by the end of this year. Anyway, we'll be close. Scope 3 carbon is more difficult for construction, so right now, because we have a component level digital twin, we can basically create a database of embedded Scope 3 carbon for every component, and then stick that into the Revit model as an attribute, and then we can auto-calculate the Scope 3. We'll, sometime in Q2 we'll have that, and then once you can understand the details, then you can start to look at mitigation strategy. But we're changing materials. This again, the literature is all about industrialization of construction. So we're in that process now. And it's almost like I guess pre-industrialization. You're before Henry Ford. You're into this sort of Henry Fayol and these sort of guys when you're looking at work study and because that's just not even thought about in construction right now. So we're taking a first principles approach. We're putting that into a digital environment. We're looking at how we can automate with CNC and robots. We've got our first robot welder working, kind of 60% right now, but we're doing R&D on that, and then we'll have a full production line, and we'll do more and more insourcing of the value chain. That's for sure.
I think as well, there's the construction, there's also the operation. I think one of the reasons we've chosen to set up the Forge platform and take it out of Reef and with UBS is that we're co-locating, data, energy, and real estate and zero carbon energy. So we're looking at the whole layer, whether it's cloud computing, right through to the actual operation. As Miranda touched on, life science, like construction, has a bit of elephant in the room in terms of the carbon footprint. So it's actually looking at how the whole journey of the actual operation of the building works, which will play back to the IoT in time and things like that. I think it's a really critical part, and why we chose to build a ground-up platform. We went through a big journey with UBS. Do we buy existing assets and reposition them? I personally think a lot of real estate in the knowledge sector, life science, certainly in the UK, is obsolete. So we've gone for this ground-up approach, which allows us to achieve this sustainability right through from the start through to the operation. I think it's quite a big point where we're going.
And this isn't a one-off. We've just signed another deal with a company called Ascend Cell and Gene. We're due to start on site with exactly the same model with Merit, same funding partners on a 50,000 square foot new GMP facility just inside the M25 in London. Everyone knows it. So we're looking to scale this platform up with a similar funding and construction model.
Fantastic. So where we stand today, Miranda, where are we up to with the Autolus project?
Sure, yeah, they delivered, I should say, along with our team, November 25th, phase 1. So we now have that fully fitted out with furniture and equipment, and the team is in validation right now of the equipment. So we hope to be doing engineering runs, I believe, in about a month. When I went to them with the 6 months, that cut 6 months out, we obviously really then had to look closely at this phased approach. Because like you said, we were going to be doing construction on the future clean rooms. So really what I needed initially was that first clean room, along with everything that needed to go with it, the corridor, some of the warehouse space, the media prep area. So we got our color-coded map out and sort of said, here's all the areas that we absolutely need for phase one, so that we could get that part of the facility commissioned and qualified, which Merit did. And then my team could immediately start moving stuff in, which I think we did probably within a week of the handover. We were we were moving furniture in. And you can elaborate on that, Tony, if you have any.
Yeah, we obviously have to get the regulator comfortable with the whole experience of continuing on with the construction. So what we did, the GMP is on the third floor, so we mostly finished the construction of the remaining areas when we'd completed the validation on clean rooms 1 and 2. So we had the wraparound corridor, part of the gowning area, and the two main clean rooms validated in that first phase. And by doing that and minimizing the actual construction and then tenting off and so on, it gave us the opportunity to get the regulator comfortable with that phased handover. But the way that the platform design works, it allows you to basically, each individual clean room sits in its own world. It's not tied into other infrastructure. So, and because it's designed like that, it's pretty much unaffected by whatever else is happening in the facility. So we're designing kind of small versions of clean room within the overall facility, which can be kind of switched on and off without affecting anything else. So it's a strategy that helped that phased approach, because people want to be in and using the first product. They don't need everything on day one. And it allows us to kind of wrap Autolus's critical path activities around our critical path activities and overall bring a shortened overall program to get product qualification. We had to basically think about a design that would readily transfer into monoclonals or viral vector or not just cell and gene therapy. So we designed it in such a way that we could flex between BSL-1 or BSL-2, change pressure regimes without any cost impact, just a revalidation exercise. There's a lot more work gone into that platform design so that we can basically copy-paste into different technologies. So we're using more essentially the same design for mRNA, for instance, just a tweaked version of that platform. By making it a modular type of design, it allows you the flexibility to kind of mix and match different technologies. And we were improving that all the time. I think people with off-site construction or modular behavior, we're not actually a modular company. It's a pod product for UltraPod, or it's a FlexiPod product for the larger building that we've created for Autolus. It's a market-specific, pre-designed, integrated platform, thought about which type of processes that would be created in that. So we're applying that across a whole different range of technologies with different companies, with little or no modification to the design.
I think that's a really good point as well, though. We've got 500,000 square feet in the next phase in planning adjacent to Autolus, and another 1.2 million square feet in Stevenage, and we're looking to locate at scale on the Forge platform where there's talent. And so whilst we don't want Autolus to go anywhere, we do envisage in other parts of the portfolio when it's built out, there will be asset management opportunities for the fund to actually, move someone who wants to downsize, upsize. So that's a massive part of where we'll be going. So that actually we've got an offer that can suit startup, scale up, people who want to have their own facility, and then that flexibility is key. And we believe a unique opportunity for the platform compared to some of our competitors.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be the platform wouldn't be possible without it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to put the funding in place if that wasn't an option. So it's something that, as Tony said, is very important, and hopefully going forward we just continually improve and increase flexibility.
And I'll just add, it was never an issue through that design phase. All the teams understood that point. It was a collaborative approach, and it meets kind of Autolus's manufacturing requirements. So that was never an issue through those discussions, which is great.
I think another thing that's come up really that we see clients asking us is, well, you know, you're coming up with an off-site design, and so you're fixing the design, and so we can't change it whilst you're doing it because that's going to affect it, and that's not true. It's very flexible. Obviously, we do want you to fix the design and layout early on and quickly as you can, but changes can be accommodated, and they can be accommodated with minimum or no cost impact, and that's a very important part of the design.
This facility is 82,000 square foot, and actually Tony can just give a bit of a summary. You know, it's a stack solution with the GMP on the top floors and the warehouse area on the ground floor. In terms of our ongoing plans in Stevenage, which our plans are to make it the kind of number one, you know, the A1M GMP, you know, location in the UK. We've got 500,000 square foot within Stevenage Town Centre, and then the GSK campus, which is about 5 minutes from Stevenage Town Centre, where we're bringing forwards about 2 million square foot of R&D and GMP.
But yeah, this facility has warehouse, media prep. I have all the QC labs on one floor, 3 cell manufacturing suites. And we actually have a future space where we're probably going to put vector manufacturing.
Thank you, everybody, for coming this morning. Thank you for everybody on the panel for sharing our success story.